Hey, today I'm going to give you a quick tour of the van that I've just finished building out. If you are new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. And if you have been following along with my build videos, thanks for all your support. We finally made it. So let's go check it out. So this is a 2019 Ram ProMaster 136 wheelbase in the very rare color of white. Now we chose this size for two very specific reasons. The first one being that we didn't feel like we needed the size of the 159 or 159 extended, given that we aren't living in the van. I will say though, after about 5 weeks of traveling, we definitely could live in the van. So if you're on the fence about, the size of one that you're looking to build out, that's something to keep in mind. The second reason being that we live close to the beach and we plan on going to the beach quite a bit, and we're dealing with tight parking spaces and parking lots, and we just wanted it to be a bit easier to drive around. This is about the size of a smaller pickup truck, so it fits in normal parking spots and it's just pretty easy to drive overall. So the first thing I'll point out is that we do have a swivel seat installed on this side of the van, which we absolutely love. It just kind of gives us an extra spot for people to hang out when there's people over. It's been a nice place for our dog to chill and kind of be out of the way when we're cooking or cleaning or getting the bed ready. The driver's side is just the normal seat. I definitely would not recommend installing the swivel on this side just because it adds a little bit too much height to the seat, and these seats already are too high in the ProMaster. I don't know what they're thinking. If you have the factory ones, I'm sure they're much better, but I wouldn't install an aftermarket one unless you install the lower seat base. So the overall layout of the van was designed around two main requirements. The first one being the stove and oven, and then the second one was just having an open layout. Now the cabinet itself is obviously custom designed around this stove. I made it out of Baltic birch plywood. The countertop is a piece of maple butcher block that's cut down to size. And then the oven itself is a Dometic 17-inch R31 3-burner range and oven combo, and it does run on propane. So we do have a small propane locker in one of our bench seats in the back, and it just holds a smaller 5-pound propane tank. Now overall, we just really love having this in the van. It makes it really easy to cook on the road. If you've traveled for extended periods of time, you do know that it's a bit tricky to not eat out all the time. So this just makes it that much easier to, make spaghetti or just any kind of home cooked meal. It's really nice in the mornings to be able to wake up, boil water for coffee, and just get on the road without having to set up and take down anything. I made sure to install the fan pretty close to where the oven was going to be so that when we're cooking, we can kind of pull heat out as efficiently as possible. Now, because of the size of the oven, our options for a fridge were a bit limited. Ideally, we would have gone with one of the wider, cooler style fridges that Dometic makes that is like a dual zone fridge on one side, freezer on the other. Instead, we went with a more traditional fridge that you would see in an RV. It's a vertical style fridge. I think it's a Dometic 1080, so it does still have a smaller freezer in here, but most of it's just fridge space. Overall, we really like this. I'm impressed with how much stuff you can actually fit in here, and it's nice and quiet. So above the fridge, we do have this wider drawer that I was able to fit in. We have some of our baking sheets and some knives and some measuring spoons. On this side, a couple more drawers. We have some bowls and plates, our silverware, some storage containers, a pot for boiling water, some reusable bags, tin foil, all that fun stuff. And then this bottom drawer I made a little bit deeper so we can fit a skillet and our blender, cocktail shaker, which is essential, and also like a French press. And then underneath the stove, we left this as an open cabinet rather than create a drawer. And this has worked out nice because you can just kind of throw any bigger items under here. So when we were traveling, it was a nice spot for a bigger backpack and also the food for our dog Winnie. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you're traveling with a pet, you do need a spot for food. We were able to fit like a larger airtight container under here. And then kind of in between the cabinet and the front seat, I left a good amount of space so that if I do sell this in the future and Andre the Giant buys the van, he can still put the seat all the way back, no problem. But more importantly, I'm able to fit a surfboard here when we're traveling. All right, moving up, we have one of my favorite parts of the van, which is this real tile backsplash that I installed. It was a huge pain in the butt, but it was well worth it. Over on the left here, I built this beam over the gross beams that are in the ProMaster. And then again, one of my favorite things is this cross stitch that my wife made for me. We have some dimmers here, so all of the lights in the van are on dimmers, which is really nice. These outlets have USB in them, which actually I wouldn't do again because these USB obviously require you to have your inverter on. So I ended up installing this panel down here, which runs on DC, so we can charge our phones and things like that without having the inverter on. So above the oven, we do have this nice size upper cabinet. And this is basically our pantry. So all of our food and stuff is up here. I'm always surprised with how much stuff we can actually pack in here. I built this cabinet a little bit more narrow than the other ones on purpose so that when you're standing here cooking, you're not just getting blasted in the face with the door when you're opening it. All right, so jumping over to this side of the van, we have another custom cabinet with this farmhouse style sink. Again, this is made out of Baltic birch, and the countertop itself is that same piece of maple butcher block. So first thing, obviously we do have water in the van. There is a 15-gallon freshwater tank in the back. That's where the water pump is as well. So if we open up this door, we have this switch on the left, which turns the water pump on or off, and then we have water. Underneath here as well, we do have a 5-gallon gray water tank, and this is really easy to dump at any of the dump spots by simply opening up the door in the back of this cabinet and pulling it out. Now we also have a Excel tankless hot water heater under here, and this again runs on propane. This allows us to have hot water at the sink if we need it. There's also a line that splits off the back so we can have hot showers outside of the van, which is really nice for after surfing, or if you're at the beach and you need to wash off your feet or wash off your dirty dog. And just to be on the safe side, we also have this RV propane gas detector under here, which just kind of made us feel better about having propane in the van. And then one other thing I'll point out is that I do have a hot water recirculation system built in here, which again is on one of these switches. So if I turn this on, it'll just recirculate the hot water. On top of all that, we were able to fit a toilet in here, and this was a must-have for my wife to feel comfortable about, you know, going on long road trips or camping in places where there is no facilities. This is simply for number one, and we just kind of call this our emergency toilet. Now, after being on the road for a while, we realized that it's actually really nice and easy to use, and there's basically no smell. It actually smells really nice in here because of these deodorizers we use. And yeah, overall, this is just a super nice little toilet from Dometic. And is this what this has come to? Me talking about toilets? My mom's gonna be so proud. And the last thing we have in here is this small little garbage. And if you're building a van, make sure you have a spot for garbage. Otherwise, it's going to be sitting out. It's going to look terrible. Moving up above the sink, we have another beam kind of matching the other side. Two switches here. This one on the right handles these main row of lights in the ceiling. This left one is a magical switch, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Another outlet, and then our inverter is on a switch, so we don't have to open up the back cabinet. All right, so moving into the back of the van, obviously we have our living and dining and bed area. Kind of like I mentioned earlier, it was really important for us to have the open layout. It just makes the van feel a bit bigger than it is. And then having these windows in the back lets in a lot of natural light, and that also helps too. So this table is on a Lagun mount. It's really nice to kind of just push and get out of the way if you need to, but also super handy for eating and playing board games and things like that. But this table obviously comes off this mount and then it drops down to these cleats. We can pull the cushions down and then we basically have a full-size mattress. It's about 53, almost 54 inches wide by 6 feet across. So we sleep really comfortably in here with our dog. The cushions themselves were made by SK Upholstery down in San Diego. Scott did an amazing job, so if you're in the market for custom cushions, definitely hit him up. Tell him that I sent you. I was really worried about sleeping in here because I deal with low back issues, sciatica, things like that. And I've just been really surprised with how well I sleep in here. And yeah, definitely can't recommend him enough. I know a lot of people complain about this type of layout because they don't want to have to make the bed every day. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. It takes about a minute or two to throw this table down onto the cleats and then, you know, pull the cushions down and put a sheet on. Pretty quick. And then on warmer days, You know, we just put the comforter on over the cushions and it's like you're sleeping on a cloud. It's really nice. So overall, this layout has worked out really nice for us. All right, so in the driver's side bench seat, we have a couple things. On this side, we have the water tank that I talked about earlier. The water pump is back here as well. And then we have a little bit of storage for our fill hose, water filter. And then on this side, we have the small propane locker, which I talked about. This thing opens up and we have the 5-pound propane tank. Again, some storage by the wheel well, and then a little bit of storage down here for an extra water jug and our hammock and things like that. Now on this side, if you open this one up, this area ended up just being a bunch of storage, which is really nice for bigger things. On our longer trip, I was able to bring some tools just in case anything kind of broke down. We were able to fit our sleeping bags in case it got really cold in here. And then back here is our power box. So I could talk about this for quite a while, but really quickly, I'll tell you what I have. Just a 2000 watt inverter, and then just 170 amp hours of lithium. So I know the big thing now is to have a ton of battery power. We just didn't need it. Honestly, we don't go lower than like 75%. I've never seen it lower than that. So this has worked out for our needs. And then we're also able to charge from the alternator and from the 2 solar panels that we have on the roof. So above the bench seats in the back, we have uppers on both sides. And these are basically his and her dressers. So my side's over here. We have these nice packing cubes that fit in here really nice. It's like they were almost built for these. And then we have just extra blankets, hiking backpacks, NES Classics, you know, all the important things. We put some of our trekking poles in here and some of our bedding. And then most of our bedding actually fits in front. Like ProMaster has the headliner storage area. We fit stuff up there. And then underneath my feet right now, I'm standing on a little bit of a raised platform. We actually ran some of our, you know, propane and water lines through the bottom of here. But in the front, there's actually this little drawer that opens up, and this is our drawer for our dog Winnie. So she has her food and water bowl and then some toys. It was really important for us to make her feel comfortable in the van. So we introduced her to the van by like hiding treats and stuff in here. So the first time she popped in here, she found those treats, and now every time she comes back in the van, she checks it out and she's like, hey, what's in here for me today? And then she just hops up and like chills out. So underneath on the back is just kind of an open storage area for longer stuff. Again, trekking poles, and then we store our extra piece of the bed back there as well. So we can hop outside and I'll just show you a few things on the exterior. All right, so on the roof, I have 2 solar panels that are mounted to a custom rack that I built. If you're interested in how I built that, I have a video all about that. I did install these 3 windows on the exterior all myself. They're all from CR Laurence. These back windows, again, let in a lot of natural light in the back, which is really nice. And this window just makes the van a little bit less creepy. Now, opening this up, this is that door I was talking about that opens up so we can pull out the gray water tank really easily. And then this is our hot water heater, which again has this line out for the shower. Can use this when we're at the beach or to wash off the dog. And then last but not least, that magical switch I was telling you about turns on this light under here, which is great for at campsites when you just want a little bit of mood lighting. But make sure, you know, if you have one of these, make sure you turn it off before you drive it on the highway. People don't like that. And then if we just take a look back here quick, this is the fill port for the fresh water. And then underneath here is, again, is that platform, just some storage. This is the extra piece of the bed. And then just a couple little shelves up here just to kind of finish it off. All right, so that brings us to the end of the tour. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Huge shout out to my friend Ben over at Vista Vans. He helped me with basically all the scary parts of the build, propane, electrical, water. Go check out his vans. Again, that's Ben at Vista Vans. I'll leave his information below. Thank you, Ben. And I will be continuing to post videos about my van and other surf related content. So if that interests you, please subscribe. I did basically document my entire build. So if you are looking to build out a van, you need some help or ideas, go check those videos out. And if you have any questions, again, leave me a comment below. We'll see you next time. Woo!